Hey everybody, I'm Coach Fury, the owner of Fury Industries and the Coach Fury podcast, and I'm also a DVRT Master Instructor. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about today is my recent interest in steel mace training, or LeverBell training, or Macebell training, or if it was a handmade version, a Gada. And sort of my experiences with this, not only as an implement, but also building some strength to actually have a great baseline to approach this, as opposed to just jumping in. So, one of the things my buddy Ben Marvin showed me was the 360. Now, when I'm interested in an implement, first, maybe before I know the system, I want to know what does that make sense for. And in terms of something very special with a mace, steel mace, is 360s, R360s. So I'll demo a few for you. Now those are 360s. Now people are doing lots of other stuff with steel maces these days, but for me it's like, what is the most bang for the buck out of this implement? It would be 360s or 10 to 2s. 10 to 2s, you stop here, you stop there like on a clock. 10 to 2. It's kind of like the kettlebell has a lot of amazing properties, but let's face it, the swing is the greatest thing that a kettlebell delivers. All hail the swing. So I have a background, had no background in this, but I've got about over 7 years of experience with Indian clubs. And I thought my background in Indian clubs and my overall strength training was really going to send me with a good foundation for when I got my first mace. I started with a 20-pound mace. And then I almost ripped my arms out of the socket the first time I tried to let go with the 360, try to make a 360 happen. I didn't let it go, I pulled it off. But it was really humbling. And quite frankly, that beginner humbling experience is what I think has driven me really to spend more time practicing with this. Now immediately I was caught off guard that the Indian clubs prepped me a little bit, but not as much, and that was really naive of me. Indian club is shorter handle. One of the glories of the mace is the long handle. It's a leverage, hence why Perform Better calls them lever bars these days. And the weight is definitely on the bottom, where the Indian club, 1 to 2 pounds, this is a 2-pound club. Some of the ideas are the same, right? We're letting gravity go there. We get a shorter lever arm, lighter load, very different. With this one, this handle is actually about as thick as the one on my homemade Gada. Thank you, War Yoga. But it's actually much thinner than this one. So also getting used to the grip on the lever bar was a challenge to me. Wasn't prepared for that. And to some degree, the heavier these get, the wider the grips get. So I obviously went and I ended up getting a couple of lighter lever bars. Macebells. These are from Apollo to move forward. But then that had me thinking, so when I'm feeling more confident and learn a lot, have more time in my own reps, if I want to start training this, how would I build somebody up over time that it wouldn't be so humbling? Obviously shared information would be a good way, so I didn't just naively go grab one. But it had me thinking about ways of deconstructing this and building sort of the sub-patterns. The Indian club certainly is a good way to do it. I love using Indian clubs. But really the thing I started thinking about was my other sort of odd object in my training, and that would be the Ultimate Sandbag. So one of the first things we have to think about when we're doing 360s or 10 to 2s, if you see, I pivot slightly, I rotate in, some thoracic extension a little bit through the hip, then I have to open up and come down. So I need to have mobility and stability here, right? My belly button's still pointing forward. And then I'm gonna have some really heavy duty reactive core engagement as that bar's behind me. So I'm not just going into macho man, as we say in strength faction, and cranking into my lower back. So a great drill to start that. And I don't mean these as just do these as a warm up and then get somebody on a mace. I mean spend time, weeks, days, months with these drills within your programming where suddenly this becomes easier. So the first thing I want to do is really work on that thoracic extension, the rotation and anti-rotation, and getting that core going on. So the tall kneeling around the world is a fantastic start. So I'm going to grab these neutral grip handles. I'm going to drive my toes hard into the floor so I get full hip extension. Keeping my elbow close to the body, I'm going to bring it around and I'm going to vogue behind. And I'm going to sit here and open up, still maintaining that hip extension. I'm going to bring it down, all the way down to the other side. So if you see as I initiate, that pivot is very much so how I turned in to the mace. But what I'm doing is I'm in a much more controlled environment here. And because I'm in tall kneeling, I've removed the ability to compensate through the feet, ankles, and hips here. I have to own it here. So I want to build that ownership. The next thing I would try after time is I would actually build to what we do is called the arc press in DVRT. And for that, if I squeeze the handle here, the bag I should say, not the handle, and pop it up on the chest. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice and slow on the arc press. Because I want to, again, build strength and stability while I can control the implement before gravity is taking it out of my hands. Because there's a degree on this where it's just that ball is just spinning, just like a kettlebell. It's just floating. It's just going behind me. Now I can also do those from either half kneeling or tall kneeling, just like we did with the around the world. But at this point, as I'm starting to get in here, I want to try to get some stability while standing on my feet. So I'm starting to prepare for as the leverage switches behind me, if that makes sense. Now we can put these pieces together to some degree. If I come into a standing position, and then I can do an around the world with a little pivot here. See how I'm pivoting, a little internal rotation here. And of course do the other side. Now the only thing different really from that is not only how my body has to react to the leverage of the implement, but I'm going to take the direct internal external pivoting out of that. But if you spend time in that tall kneeling around the world, spend some time in that arc press, and then coming into a standing around the world where you can start to build some momentum. I should show you those actually too. As you get proficient with those, you can start to build some momentum here. So they do start to become light. And I am getting used to being in this back position because, let's think about that back position, right? It's where I'm going to have the club. So, just to review again now, if you see how I put the pieces together, right? Think about now as you watch me do these, the tall kneeling around the world, the arc press, and then the standing around the world. I don't know if you can notice it on the video, but those reps actually felt better. So before you just hop on a mace or an implement, think about how you can make sure you're ready for it so you don't get a random injury, but plus you're also more prepared to just enjoy the hell out of it. Cool? So those are 3 simple DVRT approaches to building towards the steel mace, Macebell, lever bar, whatever you want to call it. Enjoy. Let me know how those tips go for you.